I'm in Salad, and I saw Daredevil Season 1, Episode 2, The Cut Man. It is directed by Phil Abraham, written by Drew Goddard. If you haven't seen this episode, I will spoil it for you. This episode, we get a blast of Matt Murdock's past. We get to see his father and how he died. Apparently, he's a big old fighter, and he was paid to lose a fight, but he didn't. I think the only reason why he doesn't lose a fight is when Matt's like, come on, man, you can't just like give up like that. I don't remember if it was like directly to him or if it was him overhearing, but he heard that and was like, all right, I can't lose, all right? He does not lose. Instead, he gets and he knew that was going to happen. So I was like, okay, all right then. I like this. I like how he went out strong. He didn't want his son to think of him as a loser, especially since the son, he has really good hearing. He overheard the entire exchange, but I don't think he comments on it. He doesn't say this to his father. Are you going to lose that fight? You better not lose that fight. This is all sandwiched together with what's happening in the modern day with Matt Murdock. He hears about this little boy and he's gonna go to rescue him, and then he doesn't. He instead gets beat up a bunch and then he lands into a dumpster. And I'm like, okay, I like this. Colors here, very yellow. Daredeviling happening at night is just, there's so many yellow lights. Why are there so many yellow lights? He's uneasy. I also like Claire. She's a nurse and she's the one that finds him in the dumpster, takes him to her house, or I guess his apartment, and uncovers his face, notices that he's blind, stitches him up, and he's like, where am I? You have my face, you've seen my face. He's like, yeah, you're like blind, man. What are you doing being a vigilante and all that fun jazz? Well, she doesn't say vigilante. She's like, what are you doing getting stabbed and being in a dumpster? She doesn't know that he's a vigilante, but it's essentially the question of what are you doing? And he doesn't answer her, really. He doesn't even answer what his name is. All he does is he smells this really strong cologne coming from a Russian trying to knock on the doors of everybody to figure out where this guy is that they're looking for, the man in the black mask. All right, we're gonna hide me, whatever you say, just make sure they don't think that I'm here, blah blah blah. And then it's probably 10 minutes later, 5 to 10 minutes later is when the Russian man comes up and is like, hey, do you see this man? She's like, no. It's like, okay, and then he just leaves. But he's not knocking on the doors next to everybody else. He immediately starts like running down the stairs. He's like, I think we found him. There was this chick, she seems sus. Yeah, he didn't believe you. I'm like, oh boy, how could have you convinced this guy? How could have you? What, just listen to the responses of what everybody else said and said that exact same thing in the exact same tone? She didn't seem like she was guilty at all. But of course the guy knew. I think he could just tell. So Matt Murdock's like, I gotta go. And he does the coolest thing ever. It's awesome. He takes this fire extinguisher and he can hear the guy like going down the spiral staircase, and then he just poof, and it lands on that guy's head. Oh my goodness, is this guy dead? You just dropped a fire extinguisher, which I have actually never really held a fire extinguisher. I don't know how heavy they are. I think there might be like 20 pounds. Bro, you just dropped 20 pounds on top of a guy from like 5 stories above. I think that guy's dead. If he's not, then that's a miracle. But he's like, yeah, we gotta get out of here. I gotta go. To get the nurse, she's like, wait, you have like multiple broken ribs and you're all injured. Why are you leaving? He's like, I gotta go. I'm like, all right. I know it's the Catholic in him, but he's such a masochist to me. I like him so much because he just has a moral core to him, to his character. So he's not going around punching the wrong people, but it gives him strength. It gives him the strength to push forward no matter what level of injuredness he is. And I like that about his character. Turns out that guy did not die, but he's very injured. I'm like, how is he not dead? But of course, they take him up to the roof and they take him to questioning. They take him up to the roof. I like the little conversation that they have, Claire and Matt Murdock. They're like, or I guess Daredevil, because he's not Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock, I like to distinguish as the lawyer character, and then Daredevil is the vigilante character. So from now on, I'm going to say Daredevil or Matt Murdock, depending on which form they're taking at that moment. So they're up at the roof. We got Daredevil and Claire talking. She's like, is this really necessary? I'm like, yes, it is. And he's like, yes, it is. And then he wakes up and he's like, get me information of where the boy's at. He's about to like drop him off of the side of the roof, hanging by his tie. And it's a very effective method. And he blurts out where he's at, and then he drops him. And he drops into the dumpster that Daredevil was found by Claire. And I was like, nice structure. Woo. I feel like a lot of the scenes, they're dark, very, very dark. Claire, her color palette of her entire house just gives me very warm vibes. I think she's supposed to be reflected as somebody that Daredevil can go to every time that he's injured, and she can heal him up, fix him up real quick. That'd be so cool. There's kind of like a green, also a warm color tone to the white. A lot of green in the walls, and the colors are just there to support that it's supposed to be a comforting place in Claire's house. There's also a subplot that I didn't mention. We have Foggy and Karen. They're having a good old time at the firm, and they're just chilling, working. Foggy's like, hey, do you want to go home? She's like, I don't want to go home, man. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go to home either. You almost got killed. And so they go out and drink all night. And I like how they become closer and closer friends. I also like how they're like, oh, if only Matt Murdock was here. I wonder what he's doing tonight. He's missing out on a good night drinking with us, having a good old time. And I'm like, meanwhile, he's about to drop this guy off of the side of the building, and he does it successfully as Daredevil. All these people don't know what's up. They don't know what's going on with Matt Murdock. They don't know that he's Daredevil. I also like how Matt Murdock is successfully able to find that boy and get him. I really like the action scenes in this a lot. They're really well coordinated. I like it. I like the action scenes in this a lot. They're very well coordinated. It's also believable how fighty Daredevil is, and the amount of punches that he gets. He's not like the best fighter in the world, but he can take a hit, and that gives him an advantage because he can get hit a bunch, but he'll keep getting up and fight the dudes until they're down. And those dudes can't take a hit as well as Daredevil can, so he's always in the advantage. I like the scene where they're all stumbled into work and they're like, oh man, we haven't slept all night. Oh boy. And then Matt Murdock's like, yeah, I haven't either. And they haven't slept for different reasons, and it's awesome. I like how this episode ends on a positive note where he saves the boy. I like how it shows that his character is willing to go as far as he has to in order to save this little boy who's in danger, kidnapped by the Russians. It also shows that he's very invested into figuring out what's happening with the Russians, why have they taken over Hell's Kitchen, and how to stop that. I feel like the color palette of this episode was mostly orange-y. It's to show that he's kind of uneasy. He definitely has the disadvantage. He's an underdog for sure, but I know that he's going to get him. He's going to get all of them. And the yellow, mostly color palette, plus all the dark vibiness of all of the scenes, is to establish that unease. And then I think the last scene, there's a light tone to it because it's to lighten the mood of everything that just happened. It's to lighten just to chill. Okay, we've finished all the bad stuff, and now we're on a good note. And that is shown visually, and I like this episode. It makes me super excited. It's like, okay, I gotta explore this world. There must be a ton going on. We're in an iceberg here. We're only at the very tip. I want to go all the way down into the bottomest of the iceberg. So I gotta give this episode, it's got me hyped. I gotta give it's a solid 7.7 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one on the platform you like. Set $20 Dinos at patreon.com/ASEPresents. One movie review per 1 month. Go to the link tree, support the daily grindiness of all the daily movies, so you can go here. And until next time, in Salad Saw, I'll see you later, my sour croutons and bacon bits. I'm gonna go fight crime now. Goodbye.